Hello, my name's Duncan and this is Ruby and welcome to Back Away from the Donkey and Back Books. I have a lot of books. I've realised I've got a lot of books. I know it's not much of a surprise, but it is. Little Ruby, you're going to sit down on the floor in a minute. So yeah, this is a sort of reading update for April. At the moment, I'm struggling with time and sort of mental health wise, producing more than about one video a week. And I don't want it just full up with my sort of channel just full up with tag videos as much as I love doing tag videos. So if I'm not producing much else, I'm just keeping it to a video a week. Though saying that, I have got a couple of tag videos coming up soon. I'm hoping to get better in the next few weeks, but I've got a lot of work going on. Also, this room's being reorganised. We have some visitors in about 3-4 weeks. My in-laws are coming up, and part of what they're doing is they are bringing some stuff up from IKEA. We have not got the nearest IKEA to us is Glasgow, isn't it? Yeah. And so they're going to pick some stuff up the way to help for storage and bookshelves. Some more bookshelves. If you hear any noises, you might hear some seagulls outside or some grass cutting, which seems to be going on a lot. So yeah, that's basically it. That's just sort of a little roundup of what's been happening. And I'm going to put little Ruby down here, and then we're going to get on to what I've been reading through April. And there's been quite a few sort of rereads there. I just sort of was in the mindset for them. And if you watch my videos before, you know that I sort of have vague ideas of what I'm reading, but I don't really sort of stick to much of a plan. So I can go off in weird directions. Anyway, I'm going to put Ruby Roobster down, Little Miss Ruby Roundhouse. So say goodbye to everybody. Okay, and there you go to sleep. We are going to cut here. So yes, I've just had to put Ruby down. So I have my trusty notebook with me. Trusty notebook is what I read last month, and I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 books. I did. I was 10 books in a graphic novel, or 9 books in a graphic novel. But anyway, so I decided to begin the month. I had a bit of a sort of I need to read some Asimov idea in my brain. So I went back and read one of the robot books, The Naked Sun, which is the middle one, published in 1947, I think it was. Or was it 57? But this is the second book of the robot ones with Elijah Baley detective books. And this is one published mid-90s. I've got another version somewhere with a beautiful Chris Voss cover on it. And this... 200 pages. These are nice little condensed. The final one, The Robots of Dawn, which I've read, which counts as the beginning of a May read, I reread, and that's 500 pages. So 30 years between writing books of the series, you can see that Asimov got a little baggy. But any time spent with Elijah Baley and Daniel Oliver, as far as I'm concerned, is good time spent. And to me, these are some of my favourite of Asimov's works, these robot books. Robot detective books, which is what they are. So yeah, I did that one. We enjoyed that. And then another reread, but this was a book I read last year. And last year I enjoyed it, but I really, really wanted to revisit it just to sort of see if my opinions have changed. And this is Harry Turtledove, the sort of master of alternate timelines. And this was 3 Miles Down, and it's quite a modern book for me to read. And this is set in the 1970s, about the time when Nixon got up to his shenanigans. And it's about basically a first contact book. It's something has crashed into the ocean, and this one guy who's at university and into science and is a science fiction fan is sequestered by the CIA to help them with this, which sounds bizarre, but it does sort of make sense. And so they go out on this boat, which I can't remember the name of the boat, but it is a real boat. If you look at history, it did exist, and explore it. It is a very slow book. I've seen complaints about it saying it's very slow like molasses, I think was one of the comments I read. But I think that's to its credit. And I really enjoyed this. And then I've over the years I've read on and off bits of Turtledove. I find he can get a little samey because he does alternate ones. But I looked back and he did some interesting looking fantasy books at the back end of the 70s, which is like his first publication works that I may need to try and find. One I think was sounded like it was about werewolves or something. It sounded quite intriguing. So there's stuff into, and also I really quite like this cover. It's quite an interesting cover. I'm not said a huge fan of modern covers, but I really quite like that. And that was done by, is it say it was done? Cover art and designed by Emmanuel Santos. I think that's a really nice sort of cover. So yeah, 3 Miles Down, Henry Turtledove. You may have heard me talk about it last year when I read it first, but that's a little update for anybody. Then I got into with Tangled Skin, which is Piers Anthony. It's part of his Incarnations of Immortality series. I've not read it before. I read the first book in it, To Ride a Pale Horse, which is an excellent book in the 80s, and I've reread that recently. And I've just done the second one, which was, I can't remember what it's called, but it's about Kronos. And this third one is about fate. And the thing with Anthony is, if he can be quite creative, sometimes he can get a bit icky because it's very male gazy at points. This one, there was way too much of that. I really was the weakest one a lot. And the other thing he can do is he drags on series too long. He doesn't know sort of when to stop. I'm going to continue reading these because I've got Wielding Red Sword, which is the one about Mars, the war, which I'm going to read next. But this one was a bit icky at points, and also he just got a bit overly wordy and preachy. And I said I quite like some of his work, but I said he's variable, I think is one you'd say about it. He has some good ideas, but I said it sometimes can get a bit too male gazy, even for me. But you know what I mean. So yes, I did that. Then I did a non-fiction. This is another reread, but it doesn't really count as a reread because last time I read it was 2001, and that's Jon Ronson, Them. And this is when Jon Ronson goes and explores like extremists, what people call extremists. And reading this book in 2026, aren't we? You can look at it and you think, oh good God, this is part of the reasons we're how we are now. So he looks at everything from right-wing groups in America, neo-Nazis, to David Icke and the world has been led by lizards. There's quite Abu Hamza, a Islamic extremist in the UK who was following him around for a while, and he sort of friends him. He sort of goes and he interviews them, he talks to them, he gets involved with them, but as you know, bits where you've got a Jewish man encased in a group of neo-Nazis, and they ask him if he's Jewish, and it's like, okay, it's all a bit weird. But there's a hilarious bit with David Icke. David Icke is, if you didn't know, used to be a sports TV presenter on the BBC. He got fired from the BBC when he did a campaign against the poll tax, which was a tax that was brought in by Margaret Thatcher. Good riddance to her, sorry. And he went on, and then he went on to a chat show dressed all in turquoise, saying that he was the son of the Godhead and that the world was being run by lizards. But anyway, he's trying to do this tour into Canada, and there's this bit about Canada trying to find a way not to let him into the country. And there's this bit about this interview by the immigration officer trying to find a reason to refuse him entry. So they are questioning him and trying to say that him calling all these people in power lizards is actually code for Jewish. So, and because if they can count him as anti-Semitic, they can refuse him entry. So they go for like a 2-hour interview with him, and basically come to the end and they said, nope, when he talks about lizards, he means lizards, which was quite funny. But it is a really intriguing book. If you've not read any Jon Ronson, it's quite good. People Who Stared at Goats is great. What was the other one I read? Oh, The Psychopath Test. It's really interesting as well. But so go and read those as well. But Them, his first probably published book, is really, really well worth reading. Next I read, this is another reread. Sorry, lots of rereads this month. Day After Tomorrow, Robert Heinlein, originally published as the 6th column. The history behind it's good. Lots of people. It's basically the America is invaded by what is known as the Pan-Asian conglomerate, which is basically a mixture of countries to the east, which includes sort of Korea, Japan. And you have to remember that when this was written, you just had the wars, and there was a lot of pressure around there, which is why and so you have a group of Americans who are holed up, and they have this scientific thing called the Ledbetter effect that would help them, and it's basically their fight back. It's not Heinlein's best work. It's an interesting book if you look at the history. I have a written review up on my Substack, which I'll put a link to my Substack below, and it's up there. And this review I wrote a couple of years back, but I've only just recently put it up on the Substack. So if you're interested in my full opinions on it, and people's accusing it of being racist, which I always find quite interesting, because sometimes with these older works, you do sometimes have a look in the context, political context in which they were written. And actually it was a book that was serialized, and it was rewritten because our grass cutter has just arrived, so I will stop and I'll shut the window. Okay, hopefully you can hear me now and there's not too much noise in the background. That was our grass cutter had arrived. I didn't even realise he was coming this afternoon to do our grass. As I was saying, day after tomorrow, it was originally serialised in, was it Galaxy, one of the magazines, and John Campbell, it was sort of, not adapted from John Campbell. John Campbell wrote a story very similar to it, and Heinlein was offered to do it again, and he basically redid a version which took a lot of the racism that was in John Campbell's version out of it. And it's a quite interesting story. It's worth doing some research on. So yeah, so that's the day after tomorrow. And I said if you want to see my written opinion of it, it is up on Substack. And I said it's not one of Heinlein's better works around this time, but it's an interesting book, and it's, as well, a lot of Heinlein. It's so next we have something new I've not read. After Utopia, Mac Reynolds, and I've read a couple of Mac Reynolds stuff before, and I quite liked them. This one was interesting. The idea was this guy basically ended up, he was in a group of people fighting against the sort of governments and rebelling against people in like modern times. And weirdly, he gets put into suspended animation. He gets basically kidnapped and put into suspended animation, and then he's woken up in a few hundred years' time, and at that time it is like a utopia. And the reason they've woken him up is because they are fed up with this utopia, and they want his skills from this group to bring down the government, because utopia is too dull. It doesn't quite work for me. It really doesn't, because you could do anything. It just doesn't work for me, and I was quite disappointed in it because I was really quite looking forward to it. But yeah, that was Mac Reynolds. I said I've read a couple of his books, and they've been really quite interesting, but this one didn't do much for me. Next we have Stainless Steel Rat for President. I did a Stainless Steel Rat reread. I'm sorry. Stainless Steel Rat for President. My favourite Stainless Steel Rat book. Jim DeGriz gets collared into running a corrupt election on his planet to try and overthrow a dictator, and it's very interesting and all the fun. My favourite Stainless Steel Rat book, so much that I've got the comic versions of it and stuff, which I will show in a video coming soon. Next, Cosmic Computer, H. Beam Piper. This was another sort of disappointment. I've read a couple of Pipers I've quite liked. Planet for Texans I quite liked, which is under a few different titles. This one made me cringe a couple of bits. This guy gets sent off to university to come back to his home planet, where they're looking for this mysterious cosmic computer which was left over from the war, and this planet's covered in all this war debris of missiles and tanks and technology that they pull together and sell off. And it basically is an excuse for him to, he doesn't believe the computer really exists, and he brings up, basically goes into business selling all these parts. But it's very, and I know that H. Beam Piper was sort of a bit of a libertarian, small L libertarians at those times, and way into guns. And there's one bit where they preach, and it's like some of the gun arguments I've heard nowadays about If we don't have guns, all the baddies have guns and they'll kill us. It's, yeah, all that sort of stuff, and that sort of set my teeth on edge a bit. But fine, that's what the character was doing. And there's some of this like employment stuff that they basically use slave labour, and it just didn't quite work. It felt almost preachy, and that's what I don't like. I don't mind alternative politics in my books. I don't agree with and stuff like that. But when it feels like people are preaching at you, that's when you start sending you on edge a bit. So yeah, so there was that one. Next, Clockwork Man by Evie Oddle, written in 1932 or 36. I think it's 32. It's meant to be the first book that features a cyborg, and it's quite an interesting book. The first chapter, and it's quite a long chapter, is basically a cricket match, which is describing a cricket match. Gavin from Genre Books, I love it. It is just a description of a cricket match, and then you have the cyborg joining in the cricket match. It's an interesting book. It's, if you're interested in the history of science fiction and stuff like that, I would recommend having a read of it, or older literature is worth a look, but not as good as something like Wells or anything like that. But it's a fun book, but if you get bored by cricket, don't bother reading it. Next, actually no, that's not the final book, because we've got one over there. Yeah, got The Merchant's War, Charles Stross, and this is book 4 of the, what do they call it on this? The Merchant Prince's book, and I quite like this cover on this one. I've said before, because I read one of the books last month, this is a series of books set in an alternate universe with this woman, and they like trade across the alternate universes and all this family politics going on. And in these 2 books that I've just recently read, like the main character feels like she's just totally changed character, and it's all a bit weird. If it wasn't for my pedanticness and the fact there's some good ideas in this, it's the sort of book that most people, if they felt like I do on them, probably would DNF it, but I don't DNF books or series. So there's another 2 books in this series. I'm hoping that it's going to get a little better, because I'm quite intrigued about it. And then there's another 3 books after the next 2. And things, I like Stross as a writer, but this series, the first book is good, and then it's weird. It's up and down series. But I read these 2 over the past couple of months, and 2 before I read about a year and a half ago. So it's going to be a while before I get onto the other 2, because they're not going to be at the top of my list. And finally, I read the graphic novel of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And the reason I read this was because I saw the trailer for the new Supergirl film, and I thought, I'm still not sure about it. Not sure about it yet. Graphic novel, though, is excellent. I may have mentioned this in another video. It's weird around that minute, but it is excellent, and it's got some beautiful artwork. It's like space opera-y, planet hopping, planet and sword stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I know Roy started reading it from Roy Reads Anything because I'd shown that I was reading this on my Discord. Come and join us up on my Discord if you want to, links below. And it was really fun. So yeah, so that was it. So that was the 10 I read last month. So what am I reading this month? Well, at the moment I'm partway through Peace, Gene Wolfe. I'm quite slowly reading that, which I find you have to do with Gene Wolfe stuff. This is a Gene Wolfe book I've not read before, so I said I'm slowly reading it. And as with a lot of Gene Wolfe, the first beginning of it, you don't know what the hell is going on. What else am I reading at the moment? Oh, The Puppet Masters. Puppet Masters by Robert Heinlein, and that's for a sort of buddy read talk with Gavin about that from Genre Books. And just to say that I recently recorded a video with him that's going to be up on his channel, I think, the beginning of June, which is us for his 100 books for science fiction, which he started a couple of months, was it last month or month, that he's going to try and do 100 books for the 100 years of science fiction since science fiction was sort of officially in the magazines. And I worked out in my little brain that it means he needs to have a video about every 3 days about a book if he's going to do the 100 books. It's a hell of an an attempt, but it's quite interesting. So yes, that video should be up at the beginning of June. I will not tell you what it's about because it's when you see the video, and I probably might do a separate review after that, just to keep you on tenterhooks. But just keep an eye out on Gavin's channel for all his 100 years of science fiction books. So yeah, and what else am I going to read this month? I really don't know. I said I'm quite busy. I want to try and I've got a bunch of videos that I really want to do that I've done some sort of vague writing for bits. It's just I'm struggling with time. I said we had a load of works in his house recently, and I said my in-laws are coming and they are going to be bringing some more storage for me, and I want to do some organising for that. So I will at least keep to one a week. If I have two, one of them may be a tag. But I've got a couple of bits I might try and get around to recording this weekend. But I'm hoping that after they've come, which I said will be mid-May, I can then get back to sort of doing 2 to 3 videos a week, which is sort of my normal bits. And if you enjoy my videos, that's great. And I will look forward to interacting with you all. So yeah, so that's really my roundup for May. April. Oh, the other things I was going to look at in May is my Arthur C. Clarke stuff. I've been reading Arthur C. Clarke books. I'm probably going to do something else and some for my translated science fiction as well. Oh, 2 seconds. Just cut there because I just need to get a book. It's Fall of Night, Arthur C. Clarke. I'm a Muppet. I actually have 2 copies of this now. Yes, because I accidentally bought 2 of them. So if anybody out there in UK land would like a copy, email me. My email's in my profile here, or knock me up on Discord or something, or if you're on something like Voxer, just search for Back Away from the Donkey and you'll find me, and I'll send it to you. Just give me your own address, because I've got 2 copies of it and I don't need 2 copies, especially the same publication. Anyway, that's me done for the moment. I will speak to you all very soon, and hopefully I'll get back to some more sort of meteor videos soon. But I'm going to, I said I've got a tag one that I want to do, and a sort of non-tag one, which could have been a tag, but doesn't really count, in the next few days. I'm now rambling a lot, aren't I? I'm going to go off and have some lunch. Anyway, bye for now.